Welcome to another episode of AutoMundial, the weekly car news and review show where this time we have everything from electric hatchbacks to convertible SUVs.
We also have an electric Ford Mustang and fun on two wheels courtesy of the Kawasaki H2.
All of that is still to come, but first...
Few car brands are quite so as evocative as Alfa Romeo, the historic Italian car brand that's celebrating its 110th anniversary this year. The marque has a long history of racing and road car success, and as part of the celebrations, Alfa has reopened the doors to its museum in Arese, Italy, closely following the coronavirus safety guidelines. In addition to the regular exhibits, guests can now explore some of the private storage areas for the first time, revealing an extra 150 cars, plus trophies, artwork, some historic engines and racing cars. The good news comes as Italy's car industry continues to get back on track after a shutdown due to COVID-19, and with the reveal of the Giulia GTA and GTA M from earlier in the year.
What happened when Audi throws every bit of tech and engineering it's got at an SUV? Well, you get this, the Audi Q8. It's big, brash, and a little bit confusing. You see, this is more than just a coupe version of the Q7. Audi is marketing this as an alternative to a Bentley Bentayga or even an A8 Saloon. It's a luxury product for those who like to show off. On the outside, this isn't simply a Q7 with a sloped roof. The whole front end has been changed to look more aggressive and reminiscent of the R8 supercar. There are some wonderful details too, like the frameless doors, unique in this class, and the eye-catching LED headlights. Audi has gone to some real effort to distinguish the Q8 from the rest of its broad SUV lineup. There's a choice of two engines for now. A 3-litre V6 diesel available with either 231 or 286 brake horsepower, and a petrol 3-litre V6 pumping out 340 brake horsepower. There is also the mad RS Q8 performance version with a 600 horsepower V8. But all models come with a mild hybrid system that helps out at lower speeds, reducing emissions and boosting economy around town. Wherever you take it, the Q8 is superbly refined, but it doesn't feel as sporty as its looks would suggest. It handles well, much like a Q7, but it's not an exciting car to drive. All models come with air suspension, which soaks up bumps well and does a great job of minimizing body roll in such a heavy car. The Q8 weighs in at around 2.2 tons. The Q8 cosets you, removing any feeling or vibrations from the road, which adds to the luxurious atmosphere inside the cabin. The whole interior is a step up from the Q7, with stunning materials throughout and some staggering gadgets and tech. Everywhere you look, you find leather, wood and brushed metals. It's all ultra-modern and it works brilliantly. It gets the MMI dual-screen infotainment system found in other high-end Audis. The 10-inch top screen takes care of audio and navigation, while the lower 8.6-inch screen controls climate control and car setup menus. Behind the steering wheel, the Q8 also gets Audi's tried and tested virtual cockpit, which replaces analog dials with a beautiful high-definition screen which can display instruments and maps. As you'd expect, the Q8 does lose out on practicality compared with the boxier Q7 on which it's based. But that's unlikely to be much of a concern to potential buyers who will be buying it for its in-your-face styling and beautiful interior.
But buyers looking for good-looking luxury SUVs are spoilt for choice, and at the same price point as the Q8 is this, the hugely popular Range Rover Sport. More so than the Audi, the Sport, as its name suggests, can be a rewarding car to drive. While it's far from being a sports car, it handles well thanks to its relatively lightweight and well-sorted chassis. It also has a great selection of engine options, including a plug-in hybrid model and even a supercharged V8 in the SVR that's good for 0 to 62 in just 4.5 seconds. Its interior is up to scratch too. Few 4x4s can match a Range Rover for sheer cabin opulence, with gorgeous leather and wood options and a minimalist, elegantly designed dashboard. Then there's the new Porsche Cayenne Coupe. Again, a true performance SUV, the Cayenne is blisteringly quick. Like the Audi, it loses out on practicality versus the standard Cayenne in favour of a sleeker roofline. Like the Q8, it comes full of the latest technology. The interior isn't quite as plush as the Audi or the Range Rover, but it feels sportier with inspiration taken from the 911.
For absolute size and that imposing look though, the Audi Q8 is tough to beat in this class. It exudes quality and is absolutely cutting edge in both its design and features. If you want an SUV that stands out, it has to be this.
It's easy to think that if you want an EV, you really have to splash out on a Tesla, Jaguar, Audi, or even Porsche. At first glance, it seems that it's only premium manufacturers making EVs. However, that's simply not the case. Kia, Hyundai, Nissan and VW all offer affordable electric cars. But Renault's plucky little Zoe has been on the market for years. And the facelifted 2020 model could well be the most affordable EV on the market right now, thanks in part to Renault's new battery lease scheme. The Zoe may be getting on a bit now, but the fresh new look certainly hides the car's age well, with new LED headlights, revised grille and updated bumpers. Inside, the changes are much more obvious, thanks to a completely restyled centre console and new infotainment. Renault has increased the Zoe's battery capacity by 32% to 52 kilowatt hours, and range is now up to a much more competitive 245 miles, far greater than that of the Honda E, the Renault's chic new rival. There are two powertrain options, the R110 with 106 brake horsepower or 132 brake horsepower in the two higher trim levels. The latter can get the little Zoe from 0 to 62 miles per hour in 9.5 seconds and onto a top speed of 87. Obviously, that's not very quick, but it's more than acceptable for a little electric city car. Charge times have improved over the old Model 2. When connected to Renault's 7 kilowatt household wall box, a 100% charge takes 9 hours 25 minutes. This falls to 3 hours when hooked up to a Meteor commercial charge point, while the 50 kilowatt DC capable model can recover an 80% charge in just over an hour. On the road, it's wonderfully quiet compared to petrol-powered alternatives. It silently glides through town and it feels properly nippy between the traffic lights. Head out of town though, and you soon notice that it generates a bit more wind and road noise than its nearest rival, the Nissan Leaf.
Speaking of which, the Leaf has long been a thorn in the Zoe's side. It's a bit bigger and a touch more expensive, but for years this was the only other affordable EV on offer that you might actually want to buy. Now in its second generation, the Leaf has matured into a more normal-looking hatchback that just happens to be electric. It looks far more conservative than the elegant little Renault, but the Nissan has plenty of tech on offer to attract buyers. It gets decent infotainment with smart navigation, lots of cool backlit blue bits, and a customizable TFT screen next to the analog speedometer. The interior quality is a mixed bag. For every high-quality soft-touch piece of trim, there's a horrible bit of scratchy plastic. The range is mixed too. Depending on exactly which model you get and what sort of driving you do, 319 miles is possible, but base spec cars offer just 168. It is quicker than the Zoe though, with the top spec Leaf E Plus hitting 62 in just 7.5 seconds. Not bad for a cheap electric hatchback.
But these cars no longer have the market to themselves. The super stylish Honda E is now on sale, as is the impressive new Mini Electric. Both of these cars have stylish design on their side, much more so than the rather mundane-looking Nissan. The Zoe, though, is one of the prettiest hatchbacks of any sort on the market. Its chic looks combined with genuinely good range and decent performance should mean that it stays at the top of the affordable EV tree.
After the break, a convertible crossover from Volkswagen and the Ford Mustang Mach-E.
Coming up, has Ford ruined the Mustang? First though,
in days gone by, most 4x4s were convertibles. Early Land Rovers, Jeeps and Land Cruisers all had fabric roofs to save money. Then a few years ago, Land Rover gave us the Evoque convertible, a luxurious bathtub on wheels that achieved predictably poor sales. This hasn't put off Volkswagen though, as it boldly reveals this, the T-ROC Cabriolet. Nope, we're not sure why this has happened either, but it is about half the price of the other convertible 4x4, the completely different Jeep Wrangler. But this new body style does further diversify the popular little T-ROC. We've already featured the superb R version, while the regular car has quickly become a common sight on the roads. And VW has a long history of hugely successful cabrios, with the Beetle, Carmen Ghia and Golf all selling well. But where those were simple soft-top versions of existing cars, Volkswagen has had to do a little more engineering with this T-ROC. From the front wheel arches back, every panel has grown, with the wheelbase extending by 40mm compared to the hardtop car. The rear doors have been removed, while the roof mechanism means the rear bench is narrower, making it a 4-seater rather than a 5. And without a proper roof, rigidity normally takes a significant hit in convertibles. To try and combat that, VW has strengthened the chassis with new crossbeams, while the A-pillars have also been beefed up to protect occupants in the event of a rollover. The roof is available in black fabric only, with no fancy folding metal systems like you got in the old EOS. It goes up or down in 9 seconds at speeds of up to 19 miles per hour. Otherwise, it's a standard T-ROC. It gets either a 1-litre 3-cylinder engine or a more powerful 1.5 with 148 brake horsepower. The cabin remains as funky as ever, with body colour bits and nice infotainment. Maybe, just maybe, the T-ROC Cabriolet will catch on, but we can't see VW building an R version.
And from 4 wheels to 2 now with the new Kawasaki H2.
Mega sunny out here in this desert Fire State Valley Park, about an hour up the road from Vegas. So we'll quickly whip through what this bike is from front to back, and then I'll give you my riding impression. So we've got a Brembo M4 32 caliper, matched for the first time I think ever in my experience with a Nissan master cylinder rather than a Brembo one. In between lever and caliper, we've got a Showa separate function big piston fork, stacks of adjustment. We'll get to my riding impression down the line, but that, coupled with the Showa gas cartridge shock at the back, is perfect package for a bike like this. In between those forks, we've got a TFT dash, much like Z900. It's a fairly common theme across the premium Kawasaki's that are available now. Fairly bulbous tank. You know, you can tuck your knees up in underneath it when you're trying to go fast. So underneath that big tank is the motor. Efficiency is the key word that the guys from Kawasaki kept hitting home with it. It's incredibly efficient. Everything from the cooling system, bearing in mind the supercharger that's bolted to this bike is an in-house system. The figures that it plops out at the other end are mighty, mighty impressive. 200 horsepower at 11,000 RPM and 139 newton meters of torque at 8,500 RPM. The all-up weight of this bike ready to ride is 239 kilos. Effectively, what they've done is made the riding process as safe as it can possibly be while still painting a smile on your face. I'm doing 159 miles an hour or whatever it was yesterday on a naked bike, and there's nothing to hide behind here. Well, there's nothing to hide behind here. 160 mile an hour naked bike experience. It's ridiculous. The way that it charges from second to third, you would think is probably one of the fastest accelerating experiences you could ever have. Until you go from full gas in third to fourth, it just absolutely rips. It's like nothing else. It's going to have its work cut out in this kind of razor sharp super naked category that it's got, you know, Super Ducats, Street Fighter Panigales, S1000Rs, MT10s, Speed Triples. It's a busy and bustling sector of the market, and everybody needs to have something unique in order to perform within it. Trust me, get on one of these things, go from second to fourth, absolutely wound to the stop, and you'll see exactly how unique ZH2 is. I think if we look across the supercharged range, H2R, king of the table, absolutely, you know, top of the food chain. Ditto the SX. I don't think there's a bike that can really compete in that kind of super fast sports touring market. This one, like I said earlier, it has its work cut out. There are stacks of machines that sit in this sector that might grab your attention more than this does. But as I say in every other single review that I've done, the test ride will tell the story for you. I spent a couple of days on it. I've kind of fallen in love with it.
The Ford Mustang is one of the most instantly recognizable cars on the planet. Thanks to numerous movie appearances and general iconic status, anyone can spot a Mustang. With its long bonnet, low roofline and rumbling V8, it's no wonder that it's one of the most successful sports cars in history. Now though, there's a new one, and things are a little different. This is the all-new Ford Mustang Mach-E, and it's certainly not a V8 sports car. Instead, this is an all-electric SUV with 4 doors and copy-and-paste crossover styling. We think it's fair to say that none of us saw this coming. Clearly a case of the marketing team getting a little too excited, the Mach-E shares a few minor styling cues with its namesake. It gets the traditional pony badge, similar lights front and back, and that seems to be about it. It's far from a proper Mustang though, and is likely to enrage petrol heads the world over. Don't worry though, the normal Mustang isn't leaving us anytime soon.
So, questionable branding aside, what's the Mustang Mach-E actually like? Well, on the face of it, it seems like a pretty regular crossover. It gets some aggressive styling at the front, while the rest of it looks largely like anything else in this class. It gets a sleek low roofline though, and those evocative 3-bar taillights. Step inside though, and the striking cabin is a long way from anything we've seen from Ford before. As is the trend at the moment, there's a horizontal theme to the dashboard architecture with flat surfaces and a full-width air vent. The most striking feature though is the immense 15.5-inch central touchscreen, which dominates the interior. Clearly inspired by Tesla's infotainment screens, it's like having a TV in your car. It neatly incorporates a handy and tactile rotary dial into the screen itself, which makes it a little easier to use on the move. It's a whole new system for Ford and uses algorithms that search data from your smartphone to suggest music and route guidance. It can also work out whose smartphone has been used to unlock the car and tailor its suggestions accordingly. As is becoming the norm with new releases, it doesn't feature an instrument cluster. Instead, it has another screen behind the steering wheel, this time a 10.2-inch unit displaying your speed and range. One really cool option that we wouldn't be able to resist is the Bang & Olufsen soundbar hidden within the fabric fascia of the dashboard, perfect for audiophiles who like their speakers to be discreet. The rest of the cabin is fairly conventional though, with nicely trimmed seats, good head and legroom, and a decent-sized boot. although it could be improved with a shallower rear window.
The Mach-E will be available with a range of different motor and battery combinations. Entry-level cars are rear-wheel drive, with 255 brake horsepower and 280 miles of range. The next one up is also driven by the rear wheels, but power rises to 282 brake horsepower with an impressive 370-mile range, while 0 to 62 miles per hour is dealt with in just under 8 seconds. There's a range of 4x4 models too, the most potent of which being the 333 brake horsepower 4X, although its top speed remains limited to 111 miles per hour, the same as the rest of the range. There will be several trim levels on offer too, with a first edition available to the first buyers, which comes with all the goodies and some fancy paint. So while the Pony badges and Mustang name may feel like a slap in the face to some, underneath the marketing bump, this could prove to be one of the best EVs on sale.
Join us again next week on AutoMundial as we check out the all-new Volkswagen Arteon.